Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
The Artist.
Oh, we're here. Okay.
Hey, everybody. We are back with the Water Talks. The rest of our crew will be with us shortly, so bear with us. I'm going to pass it over to you, Amma.
I thank you. And, we are going to start with the art or our way to kind of bring us into this session. We're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to invite us into breath, a nice deep breath in and a breath out. Yes. Again, another deep breath in and out. The other breath in and out. And as we do those breaths, I want you to now take a moment and feel your body. And when you feel your body, do you feel a particular part of your body that feels more alive in this now moment? So for me, as I breathe and I breathe out, breathe it in and out, I felt a warmth happening in the center of my chest and in the center of my back. I'm just paying attention to it. Just paying attention to it. And I'm watching that warmth spread out. And I'm allowing it to surround my whole self like a light. And this little well-being moment, consider this to be a well-being moment of centering in breath and connection to your own self before you begin. So you are invited to whatever you're doing at any time, you can connect with your breath. And by connecting with your breath, use that to connect with your body. And when you then connect with your body, you can use that to then look into how that feels as that energy radiates out and you notice your environment. And from there, we will begin with this morning. And the question that I have is, from your check-in, how you doing? How you doing? How are you doing?
I'll go. I felt the energy all on this side of my face first and then on my crown. I really feel, now I feel it all over, but I really feel in a state of peace. And I think it's interesting because this week I had a whole thing about that where I got some information that initially I was like, that's some bullshit. I just kind of went off and went, on and on and on and on. And then I remembered that one trick I'm working on trying like intensely for at least a month, which is to stop whatever I'm feeling, even if it's not happiness, and ask my soul, so how did we get this here? How did we bring this here? It's really been interesting. I feel a little bit delusional. And what I mean is, let's say, there's a real problem, or that's about perception. Okay. If there's really something going on in this reality, I'm like, am I just being delusional? constantly have this conversation with myself and my higher self, if you will. And I was like, I don't know, we'll find out in a month. But I really felt better when I started talking about what did we co-create here, me and my soul. What did we co-create in this moment? It's outside of me, so it's inside of me. So it was like, that was really an interesting experience. So I'll let y'all know how that goes, but I'm going to try it like for everything for a month and see if that really changes my perspective. But I really feel peaceful when I took the breath in and the breath out and the breath in, and I didn't know I needed it because we were talking and I felt like we were already vibing, but that really helped to kind of bring me in for real. So I appreciate that.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I would say that breath work is part of it is like the easiest access to for a well-being tool, because our breath can inform us, especially when you can realize you don't even pay attention to, am I breathing fast? Am I breathing shallow? What's happening with my breath? And so I appreciate you talking about the drop-in. Nate, I know that we're working through. Would you like to share? You on mute, baby. You on mute, Nate.
Sorry. Well, I'm in my lower registry. But I am in a space of confrontation. And it's not being difficult, but it's learning to express myself despite how it makes you feel. And yesterday, I had the high and the low of doing that. And it ended in like me reconnecting with someone who I didn't know. And I say reconnecting because I had taught them before, and not realizing our connection in us meeting. And it showed me that speak up, say something, and you have to be mindful of who you are with other people, but you do not have to shut yourself up simply because it makes someone else uncomfortable. Because we live in a space now where people want to control other people's narratives. And it is heartbreaking to me that we live in that space and we're not allowed, but we are being taught and groomed to be mindful of other people, and it's not reciprocated. So I'm in a space of confrontation. I went to this soiree last night, this art soiree down at the space downtown. And I met a lot of people that I knew, so it was a lot of love, but it also was a space of people who weren't comfortable around me. And I would go off to myself and not be uh, a person that takes up space. And I felt myself, and that space is like a round space. You walk around, like the whole space is a big circle. And I felt like I was taking up space, and not purposefully, but just allowing myself to be my full self. I got dressed up. I went out. I did things that I would not do, like go out. But I found myself taking up space, and I was comfortable with that. And I wasn't impeding on anybody else's, space or self, but I didn't feel the need to shrink myself. And that's been a long time since I've been able to feel that feeling. And I think because yesterday I had all the highs and lows and a little bit of the in between of confrontation. And I'm not feeling so aggressive, but I'm not cowering or just putting myself in a space where I'm so concerned with your feelings that I disregard my own. And, we're in a space of love. I think love is showing a lot of people lessons in this season. And it is difficult for me to understand where people are mentally and choosing to be mentally, and their selfishness and their narcissism and their just disregard for other people across the board. You can take up space, but you have to be mindful of the space you are overlapping in. Like, and it's possible for both things to be true at the same time. Like, take your space, but be mindful that you are now crowding other people as well. And you don't have to do that in order to take up space. So that's how I'm feeling.
Woo, you said 2 or 3 mouthfuls there. And I want to hear what you got to say too, Crystal, because you said something that I want to bring up at the end. So I won't talk about when you talked about other people. I got a whole thing to bring in around other people energy. But I really, really appreciate your experience, both of you sharing your experience. Crystal, you talking about the co-creation and in a different way, like you doing that consciously, Crystal, saying, I didn't know I needed that breath, and this is how I felt it, and this is what I'm coming into around sharing this process of me with myself as this person, my conscious self, and my, as we call it, oversoul, or my outer self, my big self, and what we are co-creating in these moments. And then Nate, I'm hearing you talk about co-creation, having different experience where you are co-creating with the self as the other, meaning, what happened when you stepped out and you connected with someone who was a student. That wouldn't have happened had you not, with your own self, chosen a certain way. And then being in a space with other people, not always being aware of their own, what their creations, they're not necessarily aware of their creations. And when I think about visual art, and I know you're a visual artist, Nate, and amongst many types of artistry, but I know that there's something about blending. Blending is a part of artistry. And I don't think that we think about that when we talk about human connections as artistry. How do we create those overlap spaces? Or are they all just hard edges? Or you don't even care? This color was existed and you just painted over that whole thing and with your own energy, as if it wasn't there. And even I was thinking about her this morning, and I cannot believe the TikToker who became famous for saying very mindful, very
Mindful. Praise the mirror.
Yes, I was thinking about her this morning, and you're talking about people who are not mindful, who are not demure. They are not any of those things. And those kind of things.
But it doesn't take away from their responsibility. Because when I say they're not mindful, they are well aware, but they have a lack of concern in their mindfulness.
Mm. That is powerful right there. That is really powerful right there. And let's come. So I'll talk about what's going on and the energy for me. This morning, I am arriving at being here as a response to a commitment, even though my sleep wanted me to continue on. Hey, Baba. My sleep wanted me to continue on in its loving embrace. And so dropping into the body is something that has come in. And what it's telling me is the opposite of what you're saying. My experience has been co-creating with others, being connected with myself, what Crystal is saying. I went through this whole journey of determining that I have a whole spirit team. Like I know who my spirit power team is, right? And that might not be something that other people have created in their own self, but I have a whole team. I got a squad. The gang's here. And I can hear different ones of them at different times show up to help me to know what I am co-creating, what I'm making. Like, what you're doing recently, an energy force that I forgot. I was so in the healer force that, I was like, yes, I'm the healer playing the role as, and this is something I created with a friend. You know, we were talking about the creating of this role. And then just the other day, the warrior said, but what about me? Warrior healer, playing the role as, what are you doing? You might want to remember me. So that was myself reminding me of myself. But then, so I'm with you on that, with you, Crystal, about seeing the co-creations with self, right? And then there have been these luscious, juicy co-creations with others. My co-creations with others have been very mindful. Some of them have been outlandishly creative, but my co-creations with others has been really, really nourishing in a different way than what you're saying, Nate. And there was also, I was at a shindig last night, which was, I had a show.
Okay.
I had a show last night. And in this particular environment, it was one in which I was like, are we their sound? Are we the sound that this audience likes? And I realized by the end of the night, we were the sound. And either you were going to love us or leave us alone. And at the end, we had a good time. I changed a couple of things up about myself, and I just started, walking the room and reading and doing that thing, that thing. And as I started doing that thing, our creations with others shifted. I had to be mindful in a different way. I had to be the one to kind of bridge the gap for them in that space, to welcome them into an experience, which ended up going into, the birthday shout out. Everybody want to shout out their zodiac sign. Everybody wants to shout out their experience. Everyone wants to shout out where they came from. Next thing you know, we had people coming up and making requests. Can y'all sing this? Can y'all sing that? Can y'all sing the other? And next thing you know, they were as much a part of the set creation as we were. And that changed the whole experience for me. There was a different type of mindfulness to say, oh, in this space, I'm being asked to own it. I'm being invited to owning it. And that's what the creation was informing me of. So that's right. I appreciate getting a chance to share how I am and my experience with the other right now. And I want to welcome Grandfather Hart into the house. So glad to have you with us. We did a body check and some deep breath in before we got started. And we just kind of felt into our body before we got started. And then we opened up the conversation around, how are you now? And I kind of, in my share, summarized a little bit about what Crystal and Nate said as I shared from myself. But I want to ask you, Grandfather Hart, are you in the space right now where you would like to share, or would you like to still stay in the receiving of what we're doing right now, like until you're ready to jump in?
First of all, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Beautiful new day. Beautiful new day.
Beautiful new day. I am sorry for being late, not late, right on time.
Right on time.
I was at another commitment at 10 o'clock preparing for class. Is anyone else getting feedback? I'm getting a lot of feedback.
You mean like the notification sound?
Oh, that's what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, so how am I this morning? This morning is a better morning than yesterday morning, and the day before that was a great morning. body is talking to me, uh, signals coming in from, the ankle and the foot and the wrist. And I ain't picking up the phone just yet because I don't want to talk to them just yet because, their conversations be like, I don't want to hear what y'all got to say just yet. Um, I am in a place of out with the old, in with the new. Um, out with the old, in with the new, and in that place of transitioning from the old to the new, there are some things from the old that are coming into the new. There are new things in the new that I'm looking at going, that ain't mine, and they go, yes it is, it's part of the new. And saying goodbye to the old. So there's a little bit of the grief process because, it's part of myself that has helped for a while, but it's now time to let that go. Then there are parts of the old that have evolved into the new. And I'm going, you didn't look this way yesterday. Now you're showing up new this way. So it's that becoming familiar with self as self continues to evolve and expand and transcend. And some days it's easy, and today it's moderate. It's moderate. Um, on a personal note, I haven't had breakfast, so I'm hungry. Which probably has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about, but it is significant because when bears are hungry, the forest is not safe.
That's real.
I got some food on the stove right now. As soon as
See,
we
see,
oh,
when woo, when bears are hungry, the forest is not safe. Coming to the, So anyway, and so as I'm listening to myself talk, I am jovial and festive, and there's a trickster spirit amongst me. So that's always a good sign too. So that's where I am right now. Although my body, I feel my shoulders are tensed up, so there's something else going on there too. It's like I'm like this. So there's something else there. So
I love that you said amongst me.
Mhm.
You said that's like, yeah, amongst me. I like that.
What I
And
say?
one of the things that I wanted to also share in reference to that experience I had where I was like, what's the co-creation? One of the things I realized is that, and this is a common thing, but it's one thing to understand it here, but to feel it here, is that in that moment I was angry and I was like, why is the intensity so strong? This anger, it felt like too much for what was going on. And then I was reminded of I love Marvel movies, and don't ask me the details and the names, but I love I love them. And there was this one where they were trying to get the Hulk to explain to them, how do you change into the Hulk so easily now? Because there was a period when he was struggling in that particular series. And he didn't tell him right away, but then when it was time to fight, he said, the secret is I'm always angry. And so he just taps into that anger to bring out the Hulk, And so when I was asking myself that question about the intensity of my anger, it was like, it's always there. You're always angry. You're always happy. You're always disappointed. You're always excited. You're always everything. It's that when you need that force for whatever reason to apply it to a situation, it's going to be always available. So don't be mad that you're angry. Just be angry. And when I let it flow all up and through, I begin to also understand why they'll talk about trapped emotions and trapped energy, is because I'm going, this anger is too much for this situation. Right. So then the anger goes, it's like, you telling me what I am? let's talk. And then it starts talking in my body instead of me letting the energy do what it's going to do. And then I felt much better, right? Almost immediately when I let that happen. So I wanted to share that also.
I love what you just said, because I told y'all now that I have a power team, it continues to be informed where it's just this power. And my DJ, my inner DJ, is one of the key people on my team. And when you were talking about the anger stops and y'all have to go back and forward, I heard loudly, "Can we talk for a minute?" And your anger was like, "Oh, we gonna talk, and you gonna listen to me." So I definitely felt that energy when you talked about that. And I appreciate you talking about these things always being present. And so because they're always present, it's like, who are we in presence with it, is a thing. And it brings me to part of the conversation that Nate brought up about other people. And I had this mathematical formula that I can't wait for y'all to meet him. I think I know like the best people, because if my people nurture my soul and my mind, and they become a part of my swirling vortex of thoughts. And one of these best people said to me, she gave me a mathematical formula. Forget the math, but it is a true formula that says SIN, sign, or in this way, sin, equals OPP over HYP. And it's talking about angles and lines on a triangle. What does that have to do with the cost of tea in China? What it has to do with the cost of tea is, she said, I understand sin to mean missing the mark. A sin is an archery term that really means to miss the mark. And as we miss the mark, when we missing the mark is equal to, back in the day, there was a song that talked about OPP, other people's property. But we can say other people's property, other people's projections, other people's priorities, other people's positions, other people's stuff over HYP, synonymous with holding your own position. When you put other people's position over holding your position, that equals the sin of missing the mark. And so that right there has been really ruminating in my spirit, over and over again as I come into relationship with. So in order to not put other people's projections or perceptions or positions, I can't. Sometimes I will find myself going and standing in their position to be where they are, as opposed to holding my own position. I got to know what my position is. I need to get clear on, what am I doing here? What is mine? What is mine to do? What am I co-creating? Did I in my position and their position? Is that how we're now creating it? Creating. And OPP is the opposite. It means the opposite line to the opposition to the hypotenuse, which is your line. So it's literally the opposite. Sometimes you need to get in line with the other perception if you can't see. There might be times where you need to get over there and see it from their position, especially if it's someone that you have a trusting, healthy relationship, and you might not realize the position you're holding, right? So you might need to get over there and look at it with them. Other times, though, if you're clear, you need to allow yourself to stand where you stand. So I wanted to bring that forward, is this mathematical formula. And I told them I was going to shout them out. So their name is Corazon da Força. She's the force of the heart. Again, the heart energy. Corazon da Força. And she gave this mathematical formula. She said, "Talk amongst yourselves about that." When she put it up on her social media, and I told her I will be talking about it, and I will be giving credit. And I want to ask you all, how does that land for you? This idea of being in co-creation with yourself and co-creation with other people, and this idea of a formula to know whether or not you need to be holding your position or being clarified by somebody else. I don't know. I'll stop talking about it because I feel like I'm talking about it too much. I'm gonna sit it down and see how it landed for anyone who would like to share.
So can you ask the question again? Because I think I got
Yeah.
lost in the
Yes.
story.
Yeah. Yes. 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 You know, I love a good story, and if you know, I'll tell a story in a minute. How does this idea of missing the mark equating to placing OPP over HYP, the other person's position above holding your position? This idea of using this mathematical formula as a part of your self evaluation or evaluation of the moment or the situation. Do you think that this is a formula we can use? Can you use it? Does it not hit it all? Like, I don't even like it. Get rid of it. You know, I don't like it at all. Throw it out the window. How does it land for you? And could you use it?
I'll tell you this. Love math. Math was my favorite in high school. Uh, Probably should have, not should have, but probably could have majored in math. I just enjoyed math. Um, I appreciate the creativity in that. Uh, and with that, I was like, okay, that's a little bit too complicated for me in an everyday conversation. And so I said, Let me put it into my translator." So I put it into my translator, and what came out was stay in my lane. Stay in my lane. If I'm co-creating something with somebody or somebody's, stay in my lane. And staying in my lane doesn't mean that I can't interact with others. It means I stay in my business. I stay in my truth. I stay in what I'm here to do. If what we're creating is in the kitchen and my job is to chop the vegetables, why am I over here trying to gauge the tenderness of the meat? Stay in my lane. Stay in my lane. You know. Uh, and so for me, I as you were sharing what she presented, I was like, that's very creative. I love that. But let me break it down for me. Stay in my lane. I need to stay in my lane. That means stay true to me. That means know me. That means you know knowing what's going on with me. That doesn't isolate me from other people, but it says let me stay in my lane. And then the other thing that came to me was a quote that I use quite often from the Tao Te Ching, which says, "Knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom, mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power." And for me to walk in my power, I have to master myself. I have to know me. I have to know my twicks and twerks and all of that. And if I'm all up in somebody else's, I'm not mastering me. And so, um, and then in that master me, I will know how I am to support somebody versus thinking I have to help them or fix the situation. And even if it looks like, I could get a better perspective of what they're experiencing if I step into, my guys are going to say, stay in your lane, stay in your lane, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. But if I am here and if I am a teacher and if I am, stay in your lane. You have to stay in your lane first and foremost. And then from that position, you receive the guidance on how to whatever it is. But And listening to that, for me, it was like, Anthony, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Other people's, stay in your lane. But it's mom, stay in your lane. But it's the next, stay in your lane. But it's my spirit, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane, boo. And look at your lane, because there's a lot in your lane that you're not even aware of, because you're trying to get all outside your lane. Your lane is huge. Your lane is not a single lane. Your lane is 12 is the equivalent of 12-lane highway. So stay in your lane. I'm complete.
Woohoo! I have a brother by the name of here in the city as well, Easy. He said, have you folded your laundry? He has it's one of his favorite lines. Like, all y'all out here doing all that, go fold the laundry, because everybody got a basket of laundry that need to be folded. And so that's what, that was such gospel what you said, and I appreciate it so much, because I think about all the times where I have, in my youthful exuberance and sometimes elder folly or older folly, I won't say elder, but older folly, found myself inside the mix of something that ain't had nothing to do with me. How did I get here? Let me get myself back over where I'm supposed to be.
That has definitely been my lesson this year. That help versus support. And I no longer want to leave anything empty. And we often leave empty when we're not in our lane, when we're trying to help and do everything but what we were called to do. And it leaves us in a space of always agitated and angry, bitter. And it creates this chaos when it comes to communication, because all I wanted to do was help you. But if I'd have stayed in my lane, I would have benefited you and me. And we wouldn't be arguing or butting heads in this moment. And that's definitely been like the lesson that I get out of this year, is simply just to stay in your lane. Do what it is that you have come to do. So that's another confirmation, but it's definitely, I think more people need to do that, because we're living in a space where everybody's in everybody else's business. And for what? Likes and clout. And at the end of the day, we are ruining the natural flow of things, not minding the business that pays us. Is basically what Red Bear said. Mind the business that pays you. Simply, just mind your business. MYOB is what I tell my students. MYOB.
Now I'll say this real quickly, quickly. So with that, stay in my lane, which means mind my business and do what I'm supposed to do. The universe keeps telling me, every request you get, you are to say yes.
Is
And
he saying now?
I'm like, what? Every request, question, whatever that comes to you, you have to say yes. You have to say yes. And so I'm balancing staying in my lane, minding my business, and then my business is predicated on saying yes to every request that comes in. And then I get caught up in the push pull. And so what I'm learning is my saying yes doesn't mean I have to do anything and everything. My yes could be just to acknowledge their request, and that's the extent of it. And Spirit says, and so for you, you say yes, and then come to us to ask how you are to be of support, how you are to be of service. But if you leave it up to yourself, you go get out your lane, you go get out your business, you go pull out all your medicine bag and your gauze and your tape and your Vaseline and Band-Aids and go fix something that requires duct tape and WD-40. So Stay in your lane, but you also have to know your lane. That's the key one. You got to know your lane.
Well, I was
That's
about to ask you. I was about to ask you for some money, but I don't want you to simply acknowledge my request. I want
I'll
to.
say yes. I'll say yes, and then send a prayer to the bank up there. Send some money up there, and then I'm absolved of my responsibilities. Now, how that money gets from up there to you is none of my business.
Amen and Ashe. Amen and Ashe.
Well, I'm a request of you a lump sum of money to clear out all debt from every person on the screen.
Ashe.
You go up there and you grab it and you assign it.
Look, he is in the lane. I can see it.
I'm writing a deposit slip.
Ooh,
Come on now.
and a little extra because you know we like to eat on payday.
Oh my God.
Woo!
That's beautiful.
I'm done.
Received, y'all. That's the best manifestations are born out of laughter now. So y'all playing. I'm out here.
I am dead serious. I said, oh, he got to say yes to everything. Okay.
And so what's up under that request for financial support might be what I'm hearing is he's requesting to shift his perspective on abundance. So I can support him in that and say a prayer to support him in shifting his perspective on abundance. He thought he was asking for money, but what he really was doing asking for a shift in perspective on abundance.
See,
fill my cup.
I'm done.
What is that? What's that on?
I said, fill my cup.
Oh, cup. I couldn't see what she had in her hand. Lord, where my cup, Lord? All I got is a water bottle.
Fill up your water bottle.
Fill it up. Make me whole.
Ashe. In reference to the equation. So what I want to say about it is my orientation tends to be a response. Like if something happens, it's like I learn something about how I feel, and then it helps to define my position. And so I'm one of those people where I'm always like, I'm so different from everybody else because they're like, I want this, what I believe is my position, and I'm always like feeling like I'm in a state of observation and I don't necessarily know my position until something happens, and then I can further define it. So like in the instance of the money, I might be like, I need money, but then something will happen where related to money, and it'll be like, okay, I need money for this, to resolve this. It helps me to define, oh no, I need to be more specific about what I want. Not even that I want, I can be more specific because I'm responding to a stimulus. And I'm not saying I'm walking around where, anything can come in and create a position for me. I'm saying there are certain things that occur that goes, sort of snaps me a little bit into action. And I would say inspired action. I like to use that word a lot. And so even going back to where I was feeling angry this week, that helped me to realize the things that I have not been focusing on. That's important to me. It was like this came along. I'm doing all these different things. I was like, wait a minute, this is important to me. And I'm angry really because I have not been focusing on what I want. I've been managing my life like an adult, And I was listening to this podcast last night, and the man said, he said that we all want to be wealthy, but he was like, along the way, it's important for you to carve out that part of your life that's luxurious. So he said, I have a car, it's 20 years old. I'm not been into cars, but I will spend money on a hotel. He was like, that's when I go to a hotel that's nice and got all this stuff, I'm feeling like luxury, like I'm living in luxury, you know? And so for me, in terms of the position, for me, even in that, to be able to find those things in the moment, my position, what is my position? What are other people doing to show me what my position is, even more to further refine it? And that sounds counter to what we are often told, like, or even what we talk about in general when it comes to other people. But like, it's exciting to me to consider this is literally my world and I command everything in it. And so it doesn't mean I'm commanding other people, of course, but I am commanding my experience with them. So it's like, if you bring me something and I emote and I can go, okay, well, you know, that's a great, now we've had the emotion. So what is it that what is it that your life is trying to bring to your attention? This position is really just to bring something to my attention, not for me to get on their boat or them to get on mine.
What is my hard head missing?
What you say?
I said, what is my hard head missing?
Yeah. What am I missing here? What is it that I cannot see? This is like, that makes shadow work fun to me, you know. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Thank you.
I love the idea of shadow work being fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea of finding out your position in response to. It's similar to what I heard, you know, Red Bear say around, you know, the thing shows up and I am to say yes, even as, or acknowledge it, even as I then determine how that's supposed to happen. You know, it wasn't there before. And so when I'm hearing both of you share around the position, it feels really good, because what you said to me, it made me think about the things that are luxurious for me, you know, and what things do give me that, like, and how to do more of that around my position. What's my lane, you know, and sort of like, it's really interesting. This gonna sound really, I don't know how it's gonna sound, but we're coming up on shea butter and lotion and oil season. You're gonna have to use maybe all three in order to be okay, because we're coming up on that season real strong. We're inside of it, and there ain't nothing like not minding the business of moisturizing one's skin inside of this season. And so there's a luxury though, because I have like such wonder. I had a friend make me a bottle of oil, and this pretty little bottle, and I can sit there and I can drop it out on the skin and I can rub it all in. And that in itself is a relationship to my business, my position, myself. And I don't do well. Even back in the day when we would use the little lotion, your mama would buy the big bottle of the detergents or whatever that lotion was of choice. Whatever it was, St. Ives, you used to get the bottle of the St. Ives lotion or whatever. I remember when I started thinking I was doing something, when I would have the big bottle of the St. Ives lotion, I would dump a bottle of frankincense or some kind of perfumed oil into the lotion to make it my own scent. Unconsciously, I saw that someone did it, and I was like, well, I'm going to do that. And so it was someone else's position that I witnessed and said, oh, I like it. And it informed my position. I'm also receiving the idea though of that luxury, because I don't do thin lotion. I don't do thin creams. I don't do thin skincare. Like I see everybody agreeing we don't do that. We don't do that around here. We don't do that here. So that is a way I think that it's a very easy way of minding your business and knowing the consequences of not minding that level of business. Because if you've never been in this kind of skin and outside on a day when when you realize I did not nurture this skin, it is painful. You become painfully aware of the consequences of not minding the business. And not this is not even that pays you, that saves you, because you save yourself, when you make sure that you are properly moisturized inside of.
Breeze that skin down.
Look,
Breeze it
grandma
down.
grandma them used to use the Vaseline. Like, people think it's tripping, but it was nothing like being shielded in a layer of Vaseline armor.
Oh.
Legs, feet, your whole self just glistening and not cold
It's not cold.
and not ashy. So the minding of one's business and being informed about what the business that you are now having to deal with, I love that. I really do love that, about being in relationship to the other, not from a place of opposition always. Doesn't have to be opposition at all. And I love that too. So that takes me into the energy of limbo. Not the one, not to be confused with the one where you go down and you get underneath the thing. Not to be confused with the one where you got to keep getting under the pole, but the limbo of things happening in our world. That is something that I have been considering around, and it's taking us into what it means to be these streams of consciousness in this water talk. In these streams of consciousness, there's been a conversation about the edges are the hard parts. And we kind of got to stay inside of the limbo a little bit in order to not get caught up and potentially trampled by the things on the edges that try to pull at us or grab at us. Have you noticed that for yourself, it does better when you come back into the middle, into the eye of the storm, into the center vortex, where you ride the rapids, or you stay in the middle of the stream until you come to the natural docking of your ship? Or are you trying to get off on the edges and finding out there's lions and tigers and bears? Well, not bears I don't want those bears. But lions and tigers and bears on the edges. Limbo. How does it feel about staying in flow? And have you been noticing that in your life? Like, you're finding that you're having to be inside the middle more often than maybe you're used to?
I have a story. Limbo. I don't know. I want to change. I want to use the word managing my energy and managing my life, because the limbo makes me feel like I'm not anywhere, and I feel like I'm everywhere. I feel like I'm everywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like the whole thing of life. It's like you go to school, you get a job, you do this or whatever the underpinnings of your life, the underpinning story that you have going on, is that thing is running along with you trying to engage your life and engage your energy. And, I had an experience this last week where I went into this store and I was like, I don't know, am I in a sundown town? You know what I'm saying? I was a little like, how the fuck, did I end up kind of walking in here? But I should say, and at the same time, because I could feel that energy, right? But at the same time, I walked in the store and it wasn't that they didn't speak. It wasn't that they didn't acknowledge me. It was that they could not see me. It was like they could not see me, and I have I have I say mantras or, what do I want to call them? Decrees. I say decrees because that's something I learned from my mother. And so one of my decrees is that only those that can see me, I'm sorry, only those that want to help me and support me can see me, and I say that all the time. I walked in that store and I felt like I literally was a ghost because it was almost like they could not see me. So the idea of limbo, it really struck me. I was like, why did that happen? At first I was alarmed. I was like, because then I ended up going to another store and I came in the store and I was like, hey, how you doing? Same town, and everybody was greeting me and everything. But in that town, in that store, no one greeted me. And I said, oh, this is what it means to control your energy, meaning the energy. I have told myself that so much. I've told my subconscious that so much that, the inception has occurred. The what I wanted has now reached my reality. And so when I went in that store, there was no support. There was no love, but they couldn't literally see me. They couldn't sense my energy. So the idea of being in limbo, I'm like, I would like to just say for me, I'm going to say I'm managing my energy. There are lots of things that I'm not progressing on the way I would say I would want to, but another point of inception for me is going to be that Time and I are partners. And so if there's a thing that a goal that I'm trying to meet, I'm going to meet it. I don't have to get caught up in, dang, it's been 10 days. I haven't worked on that yet. And I'm trying to figure out how to get the time. And I'm like, but I trust myself and I trust my partner self to know that, oh, we're matriculating. It might look like I'm going all zigzaggy, but that may be the most direct path for you, right, to get to the thing that you say you want. And it's the most direct path because of my energy system. I can change that and get an even straighter line. You understand what I'm saying? But the line that I got looked like this right now, so it's like, boom.
Crystal. I really appreciate what you were sharing, Crystal, about your relationship to the word limbo. And I thank you for that. Because when I was saying it, I was really speaking about the being in the betwixt and between, which doesn't always mean that you're in an undecided place. It just means you're in this stuff is happening around you and you're witnessing it and not necessarily being caught up in the flotsam that's flowing around you. But I appreciate what you're saying around managing your energy and being in partnership with Time. Time and I are partners. That really lands hard for me around being in the always ready in the moment, or the moment is always informing me of what I'm ready for. But I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that story again. But yes, so yes, we can talk about the idea of limbo in the definition that you're giving, but I do want to expand it that what I meant was the betwixt and the between of all the things that are going on around you. And the examples might be being in the eye of the storm. And if you're in the storm when everything is going crazy around you, you're getting crazy on you. But if you're in the peace in the middle, then the stuff is moving, but you're here. The rivers are flowing, but I'm here. The fire is burning all around over there, and I'm here. Whatever that looks like, and you're here, you might be dancing crazy inside of the middle of it, but you're in this expansive space that is self-created, even down to Alice in Wonderland, as I'm dealing with the Alma in Wonderland idea of falling down the chute, and all this stuff is happening. But while all this stuff is happening, she's looking at the caterpillar having tea and the rabbits falling down. Like all these characters are falling in this flow. They can't do anything about it until they land at the natural destination point. But if she were trying, she could, the way that she dealt in that fall is how she dealt with being in the betwixt and between. And that's what I was really thinking about when I was asking the question about are people experiencing it. But I appreciate, like I said, your experience of being in one store as a vortex and then coming out of that vortex and going into a whole nother vortex and having a very different experience. So yes, anyone else like to share if they would like to about the energy of limbo or being in betwixt and between, or what that, if they have had that energy happening with them over the last week or so, or how they dealt with it, period.
I feel it. It's a song that has been that I listen to every morning. As soon as I stop worrying about how the story ends, when I let go and I let God have his way, that's when things start happening. When I stop looking at back then, when I let go and I let God have his way, I realize I'm a planner and I'm a bit of a control freak, and I like things not necessarily my way, but what I consider the right way. And when I stopped trying to see what the end was going to be and just live in the journey of it, I find that things come to me. This past week has been stressful, and this year has been stressful. And trying to rebuild, and when life happens and catastrophes happen and just struggle happens, I try to, hold on and control it. And when I just let go, things come into me. People come to me, ideas come to me. I've had more introductions to opportunities this week than I've had all year long. And simply because I let God have his way. I made my petition. I signed my deposit slip, and I just let it go. Whatever happens from it is supposed to happen. I just show up for the things that I'm supposed to. And that song, I think that's Smokey Norfolk, and PJ Morton. And when I hear that song, it forces me to just be still, shut up, and just keep walking forward versus trying to, I know limbo can sometimes feel crazy because I know I should be doing something. What should I be doing? And part of that is be still and be patient. And I listen to that song every morning going into a classroom that where the children are in charge because I'm just a vessel. I'm just a guider, but I have to make sure I have an intention before I leave the house. Or things are not gonna, even just waking up, creating art. This is my art space, just creating, have an intention, set it, be mindful, aware of it, and let it go. And everything that's supposed to come to you will come to you. You won't compare yourself anymore, or you won't do it as much, and you'll be happy with where you are. It is raining on your head, but somehow you muster a smile and a joy. And despite all else, you just maintain your happy. And that's just where when I heard you say that, that's what came to mind for me.
I was I heard as you were talking and you used the word limbo, immediately I put it in my translator.
Mhm.
Now I don't like the word limbo. And and then when you were sharing about the experience of, you're on the edges and you're a hurricane and you're in that, you know, wind whipping around, but if you get in the center where it's calm. And I was like, yeah, but even in the center of the hurricane, you're still part of the hurricane. And the hurricane and the center still moves.
Right.
And and then you may not be going around, 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 but you're witnessing the round, around, around, around. It says now makes you part of the round, around, around, around. You just may not be losing your head in that process at that moment. And so then the betwixt and between, that calmed me down. And then I was like, well, Anthony, when you first got on and they asked you how you were doing, you said you were releasing the old, about to move into the new. So you're in this state of betwixt and between. You are in a state of limbo, kind of. So, you can't not like that or be in agreement with the word. Um, what I find is, whether I'm moving forward or backwards or up or down or inside or outside or all six at the same time, or whether I am, flying with both wings, or I'm perched on a tree. Um, in any of those instances, there's so much going on so many layers. And even when it feels like I am in the quiet of the storm, there's so much going on so many layers. And when I'm in the betwixt and between, and I'm thinking, is it time to I can rest? And it's like, because even though you may not be doing something externally, internally you being fine-tuned for what's coming, that you don't even know what's coming. We're pulling out new stuff and polishing it, and we put it in your medicine bag, but you won't know it until you call to use it. And so it's like, what Spirit told me, I heard last night, was refining. You're being refined. And so, and even when our body works is in works with spirit to shut me down for a moment or two, there's not really shutting down. There's some fine tuning going on up under all the drama. So it's like it's a constant flow, even when I can't see the flow, even when I can't sense the flow, even when I want to run from the flow. There's this constant flow. And so what I'm learning is, um, in the limbo, um, and the visual just came, a leaf gets pulled by the wind and it's flowing around. And then that wind leaves, and the leaf is like in limbo. But what it's waiting for, what it really happened, is waiting for the next wind. And so it's in a sort of a holding pattern till the next wind comes, or the gravity, whatever the next force comes. So I'm sort of getting clarity for myself as I speak. Like, there really isn't a limbo. There may be a limbo of me driving from point A to point B because I'm driving and now I'm no longer driving. So I'm in limbo. And it's like, oh yeah, but there's some other stuff that you are doing that you may not be clear about you're doing. So again, get in your lane, sit your ass down in your lane. You may need to close your eyes and look in your lane, down in your lane, to see what's going on, because you're never in limbo. In the grand scheme of things, I'm never in limbo. There's always something going on. And if I need to know, if I need proof of it, even in the limbo, I'm still breathing. There's always something going on. And it's for me just to connect to what flow is flowing, even when I think I'm in the limbo. What flow is flowing? Because something's flowing. As one bear's perspective.
I received that perspective very strongly, Bear. One Bear, one in a million. I'm really receiving it, especially about that understanding of the stretching, right? The capacity creation. When you're moving from this one land and you haven't quite landed on the other land, or you that existing. I love the leaf. The leaf was good. The leaf analogy was real rich. I like that. I'm still feeling it. Like it was waiting for the next wind or gravity or whatever force is about to come upon it. And I think that even talks about that minding of your business. The leaf was just told to let go. Or the leaf was just sitting on the branch and then the wind came and so that leaf is just really, really, really rich. And it's so amazing to think about the richness of the leaf, right? But I tell you, my experience of it has been that in between space is a self-knowing, learning, who am I now inside of this betwixt and between thing is what I've been experiencing. I've been witnessing the who I am now. And I am witnessing how, what have also got, I guess I have arrived at some place I didn't know that was possible, but that the who I am showed up for me in the experience of many things or forces that were out of my control. There was nothing I could do but exist with the knocked over the head, I'm okay. Knocked over the head again, I'm still okay. Third knock, I'm making it. And by the time the fourth one came, I was like, yo, I'm not okay, not okay, not okay. I am not okay. And in that letting go or in that experiencing of it, the inside forces were dealing as they do. And I can remember in that being stretched, I get by with a little help from my friends. It's a real mantra for me. So it really defines the people who I'm with. And having multiple friends say, I think you need to go lay down. Go lay down. They told me to go take a nap. And I was like, oh, that is real. And even as I was sometimes you would hear yourself saying something in the midst of it, something coming out, and it kept saying, I'm tired, and I'm tired, all of this, and I'm tired. So the one thing I could do was take care of the tired. That was my business to mind. And as I did mind that bit of the business, like sometimes my minding of the business might be, I need to drink some water. Sometimes my minding of the business might mean I'm hungry. Like Bear said earlier, I need to eat. The minding of the business is the what you can do to pay you. But in that stretch, I began to also witness, why am I laughing in the midst of this craziness? Why am I joyful? And what is this song that is coming out of my mouth? Wow, it feels like hell and high water is happening, and I'm in here, my soul is singing and rejoicing. It's something that it was so okay. But again, that informed me that I had become someone who was learning how I'm now the leaf, knowing that it's okay. I'm now the stick of wood floating down. It's okay. I'm now the fire that is like, and I'm okay. We're going to burn as long as we burn. I'm going to dance and sing, burn, baby, burn. And then the song is going to be done. I'm like, okay, now I'm matched. Whatever that looks like, the forces operating are the forces operating. And it is blowing my mind as I am coming into an awareness that I am having a good ass time inside of what feels like it's crazy. And the two things that came this week, I told you all about recognizing the warrior part. Well, what the warrior told me was, oh, you like intensity, Amma. I think you built that into your game. Your game is always going to have an intense moment. And not everybody's going to be able to be with you because they can't do all that intensity, but you can. So as long as you know that you put the intensity into it, then you will be redefine dancing inside of the gale force winds. You are the gale force winds. You are the raging, 5 alarm fire. You are the driest of the deserts. Like, you are all of those things because you like intensity, boo. And when I realized that about the warrior, it was so beautiful because when my friends said it, they were like, I felt like I needed to be loving for these people, but there was a part of me that wanted to be intense. And that gave me, I was like, yeah, because sometimes I don't want it all to be all gentle. Sometimes I like a little, give me something to feel, like give me something to talk about, make it economic. And that's when it became really clear. You be doing that, girl. You done did that. You wrote that into the script. So since you've written it into the script, how do you now relate to it? And then it brought me back to another word that another friend helped me to remember about myself, helped me to recognize myself, because when they said it, it brought so much joy to me. And it was called play. Playing the role as. And as I began hearing this energy of, you are this force, you are a great mother, you are this energy, playing the role as mother, playing the role as nurse, playing the role as teacher, playing the role, I just kept hearing play. And they said, costuming. I was like, I was just thinking about what I was gonna wear. Like, that's why even my attire is often, what am I going to wear? Like, I tell people I have a generous closet. Of course I have a generous closet because I am a theatrical being. So yes, I'm going to need to have the pieces, the garb, the jewelry, the statements that say something. And so in my minding my business is allowing me to know myself. And that, what going back to your quote earlier, Rev Bear, you said it so beautifully when you said, to know the other. I think you said it's mastery, but to know the self is power. I don't remember what you said, but you want to say, did I say it?
It's knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom, mastering others is strength, and I would say that's force too, but mastering yourself is true power. So much power is about what I can get other people to do and how I can get that done. But this concept of power is mastering myself.
Yes.
Mastering myself.
And knowing myself is a big part of being able to master myself, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's how. Go ahead.
It's the foundation for the ancient mystery schools. Know thyself. And everything they taught people through the mathematics and astronomy and medicine, all of that was to support people in knowing who you are. It wasn't to learn mathematics. It was to know you through the study of mathematics. It wasn't, astrology and astronomy and alchemy. It was to know yourself through the study of this, through the journey of this. And it all comes back to, who am I and what am I? Who am I and what am I? And then how am I? How am I? A question came up. We look at a hurricane and it's like this whirling force of energy swirling around and powerful. Da 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 da. Does the hurricane see itself that way? Does it experience itself that way? She may be like, I'm just dancing. I'm out for a dance. I got on my beautiful red, yellow, blue, green skirt swirling, and I'm just dancing. Why y'all afraid? What's going? How are you perceiving me? Because I'm just being me. Y'all that gave me this name, y'all, how destructive I am, and all this play. I'm just being me. And so he came up with the warrior. And warriors aren't about love. Warriors are still about love. They hold love. They just hold it differently. They hold it differently than the fairy. and they utilize it differently than the gardener or the cook. None of them are away from love. They all are. They all are. Lord, the warrior just love you, but it don't like what you're doing, and it's gonna, get a new alignment. Anyway, I just I feel like I'm rambling today, so I'm gonna be quiet for a moment.
And sometimes that ramble is the most thought-provoking questions and additions. That's where I find a lot of my thoughts, ideas.
And of course, you, Nate and I, we bring that Gemini energy to the space. So we gonna activate your
I'm
ramble.
sorry.
No, it's good. We gonna activate the ramble. Crystal done told me, like, your mind, you be coming up with the knowing and the remembering of this, that, and the other. I'm like, yeah, I do, except for when I don't. But there's many things that I definitely do. I will talk about it. So I think we activate the ramble. But that was so good, Red. Like, does a hurricane call itself a hurricane?
Say, I'm just an energy system.
But we keep talking about and bringing up the same idea. I think Crystal brought it up a couple weeks ago with not calling a thing something, and it's the idea of I'm just being who I am. Now your experience is valid, but it's not fair for you to call me this destructive his example, this destructive thing when I'm just simply being who I am. This is what I've been called to do. And you're calling me this hurricane, this force of nature, when I'm just simply doing what it is I came to do. Now, there's some, like Crystal said, if you're a liar, but me calling you that, one, put you in that box of this is all that I will ever see of you. And I won't see anything different. This hurricane, I will always see you as a hurricane, but a hurricane is just as important as rain, as the sun is just as important. It comes to shake things up, to stir the pot up, to displace things that we holding too hard to. But I just see that same cycle of that same thought that Crystal brought up of not calling a thing based off of my own perception and allowing something to simply be what it is and grow from that or do what it is it's came to do. Like that's sometimes it's just that simple for me, but I can understand why it's difficult for people not to see a thing as just a thing.
It's a orientation, a cultural orientation. I was as we were saying that, I remember I think it was I was reading something about the Hopi people and a lot of indigenous cultures. Words in their language aren't about naming things. It's about it speaks to the relationship. It speaks to its purpose. It speaks to how it relates to an individual or the culture or the tribe or whatever they're doing. And but Western culture is you want to name something and give it a name, and then we hold it to that. You better do this. You're supposed to do this, and it doesn't allow for this relationship, this fluid existence. Um,
Right.
so
I just wanted to jump in there real fast. I have been looking for this for years. I saw this video. It actually was a Middle Eastern tradition, but she said that she goes to places and is like even though let's say it's called Mount Rushmore or whatever, she goes and she listens for the name that no one remembers. Like it's really the energy of what it is. And I was like, this is so amazing. Now I cannot find that video, but it just one of the things that I practice now is soul language. So when I go to places, I'll just let the language flow inside of me. And it's really an amazing way to connect to other energy systems. And then it's also a soul to soul conversation, as opposed to me trying to find the words that I know to communicate with this thing. It's really a fantastic practice. And so, I just wanted to throw that in there when you brought up what the Hopi context, and just exciting to know that every culture has it. It's just that some of them are more promoted and we're more able to see it.
Something else came forward, going back to the being in the limbo, and it came up with, you know, when I am doing something and I come to the end of that something, and naturally I want to do something else, but I'm in that betwixt and between the doings, um, and I feel I have to be doing something. And then what came up a few minutes ago was, uh, receiving is a doing, and allowing is a doing. And so even though I have to go fix and find and figure out, and what do I do, and if I find myself in situations where things aren't don't feel right, but I gotta fix it and I gotta figure out that and I gotta solve it and I gotta heal myself, and this energy said, receiving is a doing, allowing is a doing. And so if you feel the need to do something, receive. If you feel the need to do something, allow. And what I'm hearing now is, be grateful. Those are just as important in of actions as you giving to someone else and serving someone else. It's like, allow yourself to be served. That is an action too. So that came, and I just want to place that on a talking table.
I think that's such a poignant piece to, bring a lot of these things together about being inside of that place, in from this to there, from here to there, or from up to down, in that place, the allowing, all of those words, the receiving, the gratitude, the just existing, that's a whole thing. I'm just, what you doing? Nothing. No thing is a thing. No thing is still a thing. We just call it nothing to nullify it. But if you say no thing, that's still the kind of thing it is. Um, so I'm just really holding that. Witnessing is another part of what you get to do when you're in that space, or observing. What are you doing? I'm just watching the clouds roll in and watching them roll away, watching the ships roll in and watching them roll away again. That's what I'm doing, you know. So I really appreciate that as a way to exist in time. And as and I think about being water and being in flow. One of the distinctions about Earth in our solar system is that it has water. We're the only planet that we know has water. They're always trying to discover water on other planets. But we know that we are this planet that has water, and it has so much to continue to teach us. Water is such a loving teacher to us as earth beings, and how to exist in all the forms, even down to its relationship to the other forces. Water is it's interesting because now I'm getting all esoteric, entity, force, all of those things. But I want to bring a song in, if I may, because we're coming to the conclusion for our journey again today. We're allowing the ship to our raft. I don't know if we're on a raft. I don't know if we're in kayaks. I don't know if we're in a yacht. But we've come down the ship we've come down the stream to where we are. We may be floating on one of those leaves off the big giant life tree, and we're swirling around in the big giant leaf. On that tree. I can imagine what an insect would feel like riding a leaf. I'm a leaf rider today. But I have a song. I am one with the water. Yes. I have a song that I wrote that erupted out of me as a part of going through. This is when I began to realize, like, oh, you like intensity, don't you? This was what I was coming into awareness around. That is that this song showed up, and it blew my mind because I shared it with Crystal, and I shared it with Bear. I think I shared it with you all, and it was literally a transmission of joy. It was a joy that I would never like. I felt crazy because I was like, this stuff is, I'm supposed to have, aren't I supposed to be having this kind of experience? Why am I having this kind of experience in myself, witnessing myself? But on the other side of it, I just accept it. And I'm glad that I now know that I come through things often with a smile on my face. So that tells me something that that is informing me. The smile on my face as I come through these experiences is informing me. So is it okay if I share this song with y'all? Y'all ready to hear this?
Sharing is caring.
I say. All right, here we go. So amazing, transforming, Spirit of God, so beautiful, amazing, transforming, Spirit of God, so beautiful, so 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 amazing, transforming, Spirit of God. I seek your praise. I live my life. I walk my strength with you inside. I move it all out of the way to move to you. Every day I pray. Oh, so beautiful, so amazing, transforming, Spirit of God, so beautiful, so amazing, transforming, Spirit of God, in the trial and in the field, in the light that we can feel. You hear our voice as we cry out and strengthen us to live it out. So beautiful, so amazing, transforming, Spirit of God, so beautiful, so amazing, transforming, Spirit of God, so amazing, Spirit of God, so beautiful, Spirit of God, transforming, Spirit of God.
Nice.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
When you sent that song, I had to have, I do a self-love serenade and dance. And I really, I felt like when I received it, I was like, wow. Speaking of what shows up in life informs where you are, I was like, see, I know I'm in a good spot because I got to hear that music. I got to hear your song. It was a beautiful reflection.
Beautiful. Simply Simply beautiful.
I am grateful that
Now it's
part of
playing. Now it's playing in my head. Spirit of God. Oh Lord, all day long.
Ashe, 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 Ashe. Um, Speaking of the hurricane transforming, very appropriate. I love that. I love that. I love that. So I am grateful for this conversation. It has really, really, really informed me. So maybe we can close out with maybe some takeaways. If anyone has any kind of a takeaway to share or closing thought about where we, as we're getting off the boat and to go into our next part of our day. What's your closing thought?
I want to as you were sharing earlier about the intensity, and they're saying to you that you wrote that in, that's a spice that you carry and you add it to everything you do. And I had a similar experience where I asked, how come my experience tend to be so intense? And they said if they weren't, you wouldn't pay attention to them. That's how you built. Um, and so I relate to it. What comes with that is intensity comes on a scale. It doesn't have to be 100% all the time. Intensity can be 0.00%, and it's still intensity. So when we know that we are about the flow with intensity, we get to choose how much hot sauce we're gonna add to that chili. Just remember, we hold the bottle of intensity, so we don't have to drop the whole bottle in there. That's my takeaway.
It's about choices. Uh, whether you're choosing to be observant and stay in that limbo and watch the bigger picture, whether it's you choosing joy, whether it's you choosing to stay in your dark place, it's all a choice and not taken away from the struggle or the severity of those choices. But at the end of the day, you have to remember it's a choice. And even in the midst of whatever the struggle or life moment is, where you are in it, you can still choose the the best possible scenario for yourself. And I'm in a space of no matter what's going on, no matter how great or not great a moment is, I'm just gonna be happy. And whatever that looks like for me, I'm gonna manifest that choice and that outcome of just joy. Um, and not necessarily striving for perfection, but as balanced as I can possibly make.
Ashe, Ashe. I would like to piggyback on what you're saying about the choice. I really
Mhm.
like the wind analogy. Just the leaf waiting for the next wind. One of the experience I had this last week was I was, you know how you go into a room and you're like, what in the world did I come in here for? And you be like, what is going on? Is I know I literally am going to go get one thing. And one of the things Spirit said to me was sometimes when that happens, actually they said all the time, but I was trying to not be extreme. When that happens, it is a choice that you made that is sending you to another space and time, like almost like timeline jumping, as they call it. And so the choice is, in fact, in that moment, it was like, go do this thing. I was in the middle of doing some spiritual work. And I was coming back here for something very specific. And I didn't hesitate. I just got up to go get it. There are other times when I hesitate and I get into a conversation with spirit about, but I'm in the middle of doing this. But in that moment, because I got up and did what was directed, it was like, oh, I was able to move you to the next space. But that's why you can't remember what you was going for. It was the obedience of following the direction and making that choice to just respond to the direction. And so the leaf, I was like thinking about that in the context of the leaf and how it's waiting for the next wind. And, you know, something we all know about, and you talked about this too, Nate, being in control. It's something that I got to laugh at, right? Because it's like, I mean, you're in control, but, you know, but the control is the choices that you make in this space that you created, you know. And so I just, that's like what's congealing in my mind at this moment when you ask what is my takeaway, thinking about everything that was said. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the conversation again around everything that everyone has said. And it takes me to my takeaway is something that was said early on in our conversation about the moment and how being in the moment and being present in the moment is always informing me of what I'm ready for, to do, to receive, to exist, to be present in the moment. Woo, I'm hearing, oh gosh, I'm gonna say it. You know how you hear something like, oh Lord, I'm gonna say it out loud. But to be present in the moment is to be with God. And so being present in the moment and being with God allows me to receive the information at the level of my ability to receive. And that is my takeaway. You know, the things that I have been able to witness about how I now deal inside of the expanse, you know, how I deal how I am, how I get to exist in the expansion with no judgment of how I've been in the expansion in the past, you know. But to be present in that moment is to experience in the transforming power of God, to be present in that moment. It lets me determine what it's going to end up being. And that's my takeaway. I think I'm going to look for more moments to just be present. And I love the last part that Rev said. I'm going to start working with the essence of intensity. How can I work with it as an essence as opposed to the mother? Do I need the mother of intensity, or do I just need the essence of intensity? So I'm gonna make space to know it as an essence that effervescence.
Now it sounds like a tincture.
As opposed to the mother that makes the intensity. Like, you know, like, yeah. I'm gonna work with that dropper, with that energy. And that's my takeaway as well. So, all right. I thank everyone for your time. And until we come back, I know we are in the midst of a new season. We've come from Libra season into Scorpio season. And we will be celebrating the bear at our next gathering because it will be his birthday weekend eve. Like, that's his birthday weekend when we come in together. I'm pretty certain. And 2 weeks from now will be that weekend right before he gets to step into a new beginning. It's already coming through. So welcome into Scorpio. Talk about intensity. I guess that's part of the conversation. I showed up. All right, family. So until the next time, thank you for joining us. And please share your thoughts, comments now or in the future when you see us, when you receive us. And we look forward to reading your comments and your thoughts and insights because it informs us. You are a part of this conversation that we're having amongst friends, but we're sharing with you too. Thank you.